Hey guys, today we're going to be making hominy. I have the recipe in my cookbook and I'm going to show you how to make hominy. So let's get started. First we have some Danny corn. I have already taken it off the cobs. You can see I have the cobs here. And I'm only doing a quarter of the recipe that's in my cookbook. My cookbook calls for a gallon. So we're doing 1 quart. The corn is all colors. As you can see, the corn is red, yellow, dark yellow, light yellow, blue, some of it's streaked. Once we make hominy, it's probably all going to look white because this outer husk is going to come off. The first thing we're going to do, since this is a quart of corn and this is dried field corn, we're going to use 1.5 quarts of water. We're going to add the water and let it set overnight, and tomorrow morning we'll start the second process. But the first process, field corn and water, soaking overnight. We're making hominy. So this corn is Danny corn. It's been in the water overnight, so probably about 12-14 hours. I don't remember what time I put it on. I added more water to it. It soaked up a good bit of water during the night. We're going to add baking soda. And we're going to stir it. And you do not want to use, and it's going to foam up, you do not want to use aluminum or anything. This pot is stainless. I'm using the wooden spoon from the Homestead box. And we're going to stir it. You have got to watch this because sometimes it will foam up. So you've got to keep an eye on it. I've got the water hot, but I'm not going to keep it at a boil. I'm keeping it down low, and I'm going to try and keep it at just a low, you don't want bubbles, in other words. I'm going to try that. You've got to come by and stir it quite frequently because you do not want this sticking. But you've got to cook this until these kernels swell and this little outer husk will come off real easily. So these will probably at least grow the size they are again over the next couple of hours. We are using baking soda today because the old-fashioned way, our ancestors, the Cherokees, any natives from Mexico on up into the United States, into Canada, they used maize, and they used wood lye, and they would take hardwood and burn it, take the ashes and pour water through it, and use the water from the lye, or the water from the wood ash, which created lye, and that's what they put in here. Now we're using baking soda because I'm not going to sit outside and burn down that much wood to get the lye and wait on it. We might do some of that this winter, but during the summer it's too hot, so we're doing the way I was taught how to do it, was add, for safety purposes, adding baking soda. And I think you can use pickling lime too. But we're going to do the baking soda. It worked for me before, and that's why I'm using it this time. It's only been about 10 minutes, and this is starting to try to bubble, so I'm turning it down even more. You really don't want it, and you can see that you don't want it bubbling if you can help it. You want it just good and hot. It says about 190 degrees, so I'm turning it on down to a simmer. Already the colors are changing with the soda in it. You can see that they are definitely changing color. The water is changing, and all the red has turned a dark color. All the blues turn really dark, and the husks are, I mean, it's probably already gained in size already. So we're getting ready to let it go a little longer and just come by and stir every 5 minutes. Maybe more when it gets started good. But in 10 minutes, it's already changed. Our dried corn has been cooking for about an hour. I've been stirring it off and on, and I've turned the fire down pretty low, but you can see the kernels have started swelling, and it looks like a full kernel of corn again. So we're going to cook it for probably another hour until these husks start falling off. Here, the corn has been cooking for more than a couple of hours, probably close to 3. I've added water several times, and as you can see, it's swelling. It is beginning to get to the stage I want it, and I rinse it probably 2 or 3 times. I'll rinse it, add more water, I'll bring it to a boil, and this is something that is not in my cookbook. Danny went and did some investigating, some research, and so when Danny gets involved, the research takes us in a different path. So instead of me canning my hominy in jars like I planned, that's what's in my cookbook, I decided to go the route that he found online, and we tweaked it a little. I went and rinsed, took the husk out. Here I'm using my hands, and you just kind of rub them and they'll start falling out. And I did this probably 4 times before I had most all the husk and the little kernel out of them. And from there, I put it back on to boil again. And here I'm pouring the water out, and when I do, all the husk, the trash, all that stuff comes out at this point. I put it back in and boiled it again. And like I said, I did this 3 or 4 times, and you can see there's no husk on it. It's swollen, and it is looking like hominy. We decided to probably just go ahead and dehydrate instead of canning this time. And this is my final time rinsing it and getting it ready. This is what our hominy looks like. I've cooked it and washed it about 4 or 5 times. My recipe is a lot simpler. Danny had to get involved and look online, and so it took me a little longer today, but the kernels are gone, the little black kernels, the husk is gone, the corn has swelled up. And here on this side I have butter, and I'm going to add some of the hominy into it for supper, and add a little salt and pepper, and the rest is going into the dehydrator. We're going to dehydrate it. This is the way that you make masa harina and other flours, corn flours that will stick together. By going through the process that I just went through, you can eat the hominy this way. You can can it. You can put it in jars and can it, or you can dehydrate it, and when you rehydrate it, it should taste just like it does now. And let me add a little salt and pepper while I'm talking. Hominy was used in many ways, and one of them was just like this, just cooked. But I can dry this hominy here in the dehydrator. I'll put it in there, dehydrate it down, then it can be ground into grits, cornmeal, or flour. So it has multiple purposes. It was used in soups, it was used to make breads, it was used to make flat cakes, this was used for a lot of purposes. So we're going to find a few more recipes, and tonight is simply going to be just sauteed down in butter. Here you can see I have dehydrated it. I left it overnight. It looks like dried corn. When you rehydrate it, it is hominy again. It tastes wonderful. We're going to be taking some of these kernels. I have about 5 or 6 trays, I believe, here, that I'm going to take some, use the Wonder Mill, and make corn flour.
And if we can, after all these rains, we're going out to our shop and get the hand meal. We're going to make some grits. By dehydrating, I can take and store these in glass jars and put a vacuum seal on them. They will last a long time, and I don't have to worry about canning and something going bad, because hominy is one thing that will turn dark and go bad on you real easily. So I hope you like this hominy video. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.